Hello. So in today's class we are going to talk about cell division and cell cycle. Now what is cell division? We know that from a parent cell two daughter cells are formed. An example can be amoeba. Yes. So in case of amoeba two daughter cells are formed from the parent cell. So how are they formed? We know that cell fission, binary fission takes place, which is basically a kind of cell division. So what is cell division? Cell division is when from a parent cell two daughter cells are formed. Okay. Now, why does this cell divide? So there are different purposes for the cell division. One can be reproduction. Then it can be repair. Wounded cells, they need to be repaired. It can be replacement. Sometimes we see that dead cells, they need to be replaced, right, by the new cells. So it can be replacement. And it is also for growth and development. So when we were, infant or a child, our nose was very small and now it has grown big. So it is all because of this growth and development. Okay. Now what is cell cycle? For the cell to divide, right, a cell prepares itself for this division, and there are certain events that go on for the cell to prepare itself for division. All those events, all those events in sequence, they are called as cell cycle. So what is cell cycle? It is a sequence of events. Now what events? Wherein cell prepares itself for division. This is called as cell cycle. Okay. Now, this cell cycle, there are certain phases for the cell cycle. So, two basic phases for the cell cycle is, one is interphase and the second one is mitotic phase. Yes. So, there are two main phases. One is interphase and the second one is mitotic phase. Okay. Now interphase, it is again divided into three subparts. So what are the three subparts? Those three subparts are G1 phase, then S phase and G2 phase. Now what happens? In G1 phase, the cell, it grows in size and certain metabolic activities take place. So this is also called as growth. G stands for growth. Okay. So this is growth 1 phase. And then S phase is phase of synthesis. S stands for synthesis and G2 is growth 2 phase. Again, G is for growth. Okay. Now some cells which do not divide further. There are some cells which stop division after some time. So those cells which do not divide further, they go to G0 phase. Okay. G0 phase, those cells go into G0 phase which do not divide further. Okay. So all these three phases, G1 phase, S phase and G2 phase, all these three phases combined together is called as the interphase, and basically this interphase is the phase in which the cell is preparing itself for this division or the mitotic phase. Okay. Now mitotic phase again is divided into two parts. One is karyokinesis. Karyo means nucleus. So in karyokinesis, division of nucleus takes place, and the second phase is cytokinesis. So after the nucleus has divided, cytoplasm also divides, right? So mitotic phase is further divided into two subphases. One is karyokinesis and the second is cytokinesis. So nucleus divides and then the cytoplasm divides. Okay. After this, I'll give you the diagrammatic presentation of the cell cycle. See, cell cycle, it can vary for different cells. For example, the Malpighian layer which is present under the skin, that needs 24 hours that has got a 24-hour cycle, okay, for the cell to divide. However, Bacterial cells, they need 18 hours for the cell to divide. Yes. So the cell cycle can be different for different cells. So this is the diagrammatic presentation of the cell cycle. Okay. Now, as I said that interphase, it has got G1 phase, S phase and G2 phase. Okay. So 3 subphases are there for interphase. Now what happens in the G1 phase? G1 phase, it indicates the rapid growth of the cell and metabolic activities take place for the rapid growth of the cell, and due to which what happens that the centrioles, they replicate. Okay. Now after this, the cell enters to the G phase, in which to the S phase or the synthesis phase. So in this S phase, what happens that growth and DNA replication take place. As the DNA replication takes place in the S phase, so what happens that the chromosomes, they are divided by the centriole into 2 chromatids. Okay. So this is what happens in the S phase due to the replication of the DNA. Then comes the final growth phase or the G2 phase. In this, what happens that the cell grows and prepares itself for the final division, and then the cell enters to the mitotic phase. Now as I said that mitotic phase, it is divided into 2 parts. One is the karyokinesis and the second one is the cytokinesis. So this part, the G1 phase, S phase and G2 phase, all this whole is called as interphase. Yes. So all this from here till here is called as interphase, and that is why the interphase is called as the phase in which the cell is preparing itself for the division, and then the cell enters to the mitotic phase, wherein the cell divides into daughter cells, and again for this division into mitosis phase, karyokinesis, kinesis and cytokinesis take place. Okay. So this is what is the cell cycle. Now as we see here that around 30 to 50% part of the cell cycle is is occupied by the G1 phase. Then some part is occupied into by the S phase, and very little part is occupied by the G2 phase. Okay. So this is how the cell cycle is. And just again I will tell you that generally what happens that the mitosis division is for 18 hours. The bacterial cell, it takes 30 minutes of cell cycle, and the cell which is the malphigian layer under the skin, it takes 24 hours. Yes. So this can be the difference for a cell cycle. Maybe that one cell, it divides in 30 minutes and the other cell takes 24 hours to divide. So cell cycle varies for each and every cell type. Okay. Okay. So now the types of cell division. So cell division can be broadly divided into 2. One is wherein the chromosomes are formed, right? And second, wherein chromosomes are not formed. Yes. So this can be a bacterial cell. Chromosomes are not formed here. Example can be bacteria, a bacterial cell. So this kind of division wherein the chromosomes are not formed is called as amitosis. Right? We know that the bacteria, they do not contain the nucleus which is membrane bound. They contain a nucleoid region, okay, in which the DNA is present, right? So this kind of division is amitosis. However, wherein chromosomes are formed and chromosomes are involved, that is mitotic division, and second is meiotic division, or which is also called as mitosis and meiosis. Okay. So meiosis is also called as reductional division. Why is it called as reductional division? Because in this division, the number of chromosomes are halved, right? They become half. However, in this division, mitosis division, what happens that the number of chromosomes, they remain same as the number of chromosomes were there in the parent cell. So the number of chromosomes in parent cell is equal to the number of chromosomes in the daughter cells in case of mitosis division. However, in meiosis, the number of chromosomes in the parent cell is twice the number of chromosomes in the daughter cells, because this is called as reductional division, because when the division takes place, the number of chromosomes, they are reduced to half. Okay, so in the next class I'm going to talk about further the difference between mitotic division and meiotic division, and also I'll talk about the phases of mitotic division. So till then, happy learning.